Hi, my name is Alex Connell and I'm from V4Life Cookery School. I want to talk about, for the next half an hour or so, menu planning and dietary diversity, both absolutely important when you're considering a successful catering business. Now, why plan? You know when you've got a plan. It's very important for business. It's very important to think about your staff, how they're involved with it. It's very important to consider cost implications, the amount of product you're going to sell, the time that you're open, the time that you're closed, the experience of the customer. All of these things come into play. But are you applying all the planning that you do for your meat products as you do for your vegan options, or is it an afterthought? And today what I want you to think about is moving from your vegan options as being somehow on the side to be far more mainstream. Okay, I want this to be the sort of a normal option, and you've really got to get on board with this to have a successful business. More and more people are adopting a vegan or plant-based diet. So as a caterer or as a caterer manager, if you're not on board with this now, you're going to get left behind, and particularly because more and more people are, then if you're not, you're going to get left behind, and the standard is certainly going up. So those days of chips and side salad and maybe a risotto, these days are gone, or they're fading away, and you need to up your game. So what I'm going to do is to give you a few suggestions on how to implement that and think about planning. But let's go back to some basics. What is a vegan? Okay, now it's really easy to think about this as a strict vegetarian, if you like. So a vegan will avoid meat, okay, I'm sure you understand that, and also fish, okay, that's no problem, but also dairy products. So anything that's made with milk, a vegan will avoid, and also eggs as well. So anything that's got eggs in there as well. Now another product to think about you need to exclude is honey. Okay, now honey is not eaten by vegans. Okay, so when you're considering creating a menu, you're thinking about creating a nice meal, then honey is one to avoid as well. Don't get tripped up on this list. That's the point. Very important to get that in as well. So why would someone adopt a vegetarian or a vegan diet? Very important question, because if you can think about, this is assuming that you're not yourselves a vegan or a vegetarian, to sort of get in a mindset so that when you're catering for someone, you're not just catering, you're not just making some food, you're supporting their identity. Very important. Somebody may have been a vegan for many years, all their lives. And so that when they come to a restaurant, your business, your hospital, your cafe, your pub, that they feel relaxed and comfortable and will come back and will spend their hard-earned cash at your place, and so you can make some money. So it's a two-way street. But why would someone adopt a vegan diet? Well, there's a number of reasons that people will do this, but these are just briefly the main ones. Many people adopt a vegan diet for the environment. Now, there's lots of studies to show that a vegan diet and vegan ways of agriculture can reduce the amount of CO2 emissions, reduce global warming, and also it's a more efficient way of using land. So basically we can grow more crops and we can feed more people. Okay, so this is one of the main reasons, and this is part of the identity of the person. Okay, this is why they are choosing. They're not necessarily choosing a vegan diet because I don't like this or they don't like that. It's to do with belief systems. Okay, so it's important to consider that when you're catering. What else? They may also consider or adopt a vegan diet for animal welfare. Clearly, a case to be made for this with meat production and with dairy and also egg production. Clear case to be made with that. So by producing some lovely vegan food, you're helping to support them and their choices that they make. And of course, as I said, to sell your product and to make some money. I mean, you've got to think about that as you go along. Another reason that somebody may adopt a vegan diet is to do with health. There have been lots of studies to show that a vegan diet, or a balanced vegan diet, and I'm going to talk about that shortly, can be in fact a very healthy diet. Okay, so that's something else to think about. Think about when you're planning your menu that you're creating something that is healthy and tasty. And I'll talk about balance of health a little bit later briefly, but I'm going to talk about that shortly. Another reason that somebody may adopt a vegan diet is to do with religious beliefs or cultural beliefs. There are many religions that advocate a plant-based diet, so it's not just someone who's being a fussy customer who doesn't want to eat this or doesn't want to eat that. There's lots of significant world choices that somebody will hold dear to them, part of themselves, part of that identity, so that when they come to buy your product and they ask, does it have this in it, does it have that in it, not being a fussy customer, they're wanting to support bigger ideals with them. So very important to sort of get on board with that. Now, so we've established what a vegan is, we've established what some of the reasons why a person may adopt a vegan diet, but what are some of the tripping points you as a caterer will face? Well, there are certain hidden ingredients, and all of this goes into planning your menu. Okay, all goes into that. So you've got gelatin, for instance. Now gelatin, as we know, can be used in all sorts of different ways, and it can turn up in all sorts of places. Now fortunately these days products are labelled whether they're vegan or vegetarian, but if you're creating something from scratch, as many people will do consider what you're putting into it. Okay, so gelatin could appear in yogurts, it could appear in desserts, obviously it could appear in glazes, so do watch out for that, and sweets as well. So, it could appear in that. Whey powder is another one. Okay, so this is a product from the cheese manufacturing business, and it can turn up in bread, it can turn up in biscuits, all sorts of things, packet soups, things that you wouldn't imagine that it's going to turn up. Do have a look for that. Isinglass. Now, isinglass is an interesting one because it's used to clear beer and wine. When you brew beer and wine, it's quite cloudy from the yeast, so you want to clear it all out quickly. Now, one of the products that use is isinglass, and it's just stirred in and it filters to the bottom, and you're left with a clear wine. Unfortunately, it's made from fish, so therefore not suitable for vegetarians and vegans. So do think about that. It's not just about removing fish and removing cheese from your menu. You need to think beyond that. You need to sort of dig down a little bit to create a lovely vegan meal. And one other thing that you may want to think about is cochineal. Now, this is food colouring, E120 in old money, so to speak, and this is the red dye, and that's one to avoid as well. And of course honey, as I mentioned, so you want to avoid honey as well. So we've thought about some of the products that you can't put in, but what about the products you can put into your food? Now, the good news is that food suppliers are producing catering guides that are clearly labelling what is vegan and what is not, so that you as a purchaser can buy product nice and safely and easily. Websites clearly label these days what is vegan and what is not, so that makes it easier. But just think about it for a moment. Pop into your local supermarket. Okay, you can't have meat, you can't have dairy, you can't have eggs, but just go in and look at the vast array of colourful vegetables and fruits that are available just in your local supermarket. You've got plenty of things to choose from. You really shouldn't let your imagination be constrained with the sorts of food that you can produce. And also, it should be all the skills that you've got as chefs, as caterers, should be applied to your vegan options. Don't think only that you're catering for a vegan. Think about catering for everybody, but the food that you're making is vegan. So it's like the center point, that the bullseye, if you like, that everybody can enjoy it. If you're thinking about catering just for vegans, then it's a small part of the population, relatively speaking, growing daily, but it's still relatively small. So if you aim to make your food suitable, not just suitable for vegans, but absolutely appetizing and mouth-watering, everybody will enjoy it. So think about, in the supermarket, you've got all the fruits, you've got the vegetables, you've got pastas, you've got breads, you've got all sorts of things. You've got salads, you've got rice. It's going to add in to create the raw ingredients so that you can develop your menu. Now, what are you going to think about as part of your planning? Now, depending on which sort of catering business you're in, you really need to think about every aspect of where food is served. So if you do breakfast, is your breakfast suitable? Is it appetizing? Do you have alternatives? So for instance, if I go to a bed and breakfast, I may phone ahead and say, you do a vegan breakfast? Of course we do, sir. Wonderful, I think. Great. And I turn up, and what I get sometimes, not always, is that it's the standard breakfast, but they've removed the meat and they've removed the egg. And they're still charging me the same amount of money, but I'm not getting value. And I just think, well, this is a second thought. You can't have it as a second thought. It really needs to be thought ahead of time, so that when somebody phones up, they can be reassured that yes, we do a vegan breakfast, and yes, there's a vegan sausage should you wish to have that, and there's maybe some scrambled tofu in there instead of scrambled egg. So you've really sort of thought it through, and of course put that onto your menu, put it onto your menus on your websites, so that you don't need to take that phone call, and it will save some time. So breakfast, lunchtime, do you have a full menu there? For your evening menu, do you have that? Can the soup be made vegan, so you don't need to have two separate soups? You just try and make your life a little bit easier. What about soya milk or plant-based milk? Do you have that? Do you have vegan margarine in there? It really is just a little bit of thought ahead of time. Take yourself through the process. So if you are a customer and you come to your business, and obviously I'm talking to people with, maybe hospital caterers, that you may be working in a pub, you may have a little B&B, whatever it is, think of it from a vegan. You want to feel comfortable, you want to feel relaxed, you want to get value for money. You don't want to necessarily have to phone up ahead of time. You don't want necessarily to put your hand up and say, I'm the vegan in the party, can I see the separate menu? You want to be integrated part of the group. So can you do that in your business? Is it reassuring? Now, you've thought about it and you've developed a lovely menu, but what are you going to put in? How are you going to make that food nice? How are you going to make it so that it's appetizing? Well, all the skills that you've got as a chef, you've got to apply to your vegan food. Okay, so is it nutritious? Is it colourful? Is it exciting? Is it vibrant? Will you, as a customer that's not a vegan, want to purchase it? Okay, will it hold? Is it cost effective? Can you store it? Can you reinvent it? All of these factors you need to think about when you're catering for vegans. Now, I've supported chefs and given training to chefs over the years, and I've heard all sorts of stories of problems that they've had. But as the number of vegans are growing, or the number of people having a vegan meal are growing, you've got to get on board with it, and you can't just think of it as a separate issue. It needs to be integrated into your whole menu planning. So what can you do to go the extra mile? What can you do to get the edge on the business next door, so that the customers take their hard-earned money and bring it to you rather than the business around the corner? Well, there's lots of things you should do, but think about the whole business. Think about the experience of the customer. Okay, so it's beyond the menu, it's beyond your staff, It's the initial point. You know, are you welcoming? Are you friendly? Is your website, does it say that you cater for vegans? Does it give lots of options? Is it clear? The easier you can make it, the better. So as a customer, I come to your door and I come in and I'm welcome, and I've got a query about something on the menu. Are your waiting staff fully integrated? Do they know what it is? Do they have to go back and question the chef? The chef's going to be busy. We've all been there, and you're working hard and you've got a question in your ear. You don't need to go that, because your waiting staff should know exactly what's in the menu, and it should be clearly labelled as well. Is your alcohol, so just if you serve it, have you got a clear menu for that as well? It's all these things that make the difference. You shouldn't be left with scrambling around for a last minute cake to make. It should be integrated into your business so that you're not having to think on your feet. You should have standard lovely recipes that you could go to. You should have things stored away in the freezer ready to go, or fridge. You need to clearly label things as well so that you know that it's a vegan product. Okay, so this is all important. All the ideas that you have and all the planning factors that you have for the rest of your menu should be applied to catering for vegans as well. So what goes into a healthy, balanced vegan menu? Now, if you are just doing one item and that's all you're catering, then you're just going to think about that. But if you're working in a hospital, or you're in a hotel where you've got customers or service users that are with you for a number of days or even longer, then you do need to think about balance of health. Now, there's lots of information out there about what goes into a balanced vegan diet, but it really is straightforward. You need the same things that everybody else needs, but you just need to make sure that it's vegan. So for instance, you need 5 or more portions of fruit or veg a day. Easy, okay, we know that. Carbohydrate sources, breads and pastas and rice, we know that. Protein, okay, so this is the one that people sort of start to get a little bit unstuck about and think that it's very difficult. It's not at all. So there's great sources of vegan protein out there, and of course you shouldn't see it as just being vegan protein, if you like. It's protein, that's what it is. Okay, so you've got nuts, you've got seeds, you've got soya products, you've got lentils. Yes, lentils. Yes, that old stereotype about soaking lentils overnight. Now, pulses really are a valuable source of protein. They've also got a good amount of fibre in there as well. But as a caterer, what's really good is that they are inexpensive and very versatile. So you buy them at bulk, you buy them dehydrated, and then you can use them in a variety of different ways. And it's also, and I'm sort of loath to use this term, but I'm going to say it anyway, that they are more natural than the sort of processed fake meat, if you like, that's becoming very popular. Now, depending on what your customers want, some will want that, and that's fine, obviously. But if you're thinking about developing a menu, then if you use a more less processed foods, you're likely to get a wider customer base, but it will depend on where you're catering for. So if you're doing a vegan kebab, then obviously that sort of processed thing has its place. But think about pulses. Okay, so as I say, a bit of a stereotype, but full of protein, nice and cheap, nice and versatile. So curries and dals, obviously, but you can put them into moussakas, you can put them into soups. You know, don't let your imagination be narrow with this. They really are worthwhile getting into. And of course, you've got tofu as well. If you've not used tofu before, or you've only tried it once, you might be put off. Bland tofu isn't appetizing. I don't think it is. But when it's cooked properly, it can be wonderful. It can have all sorts of textures in there, from very soft to crunchy and spicy. You can use it in sweets, dessert sweets, as well as savoury. So do give that a try if you've not tried that before. Thai cuisine particularly lends itself to that. But don't give up the first time if you've not used it the first time. I do understand that. I've met lots of chefs that have been a little bit wary about using tofu, but when it's done well, it really can be quite delicious. Trust me on that. It can. What else have you got that's a good source of protein? Well, pasta, although a carbohydrate, has got protein in that. Rice, although mainly carbohydrate, has also got protein in there. So there are other sources beyond what you might consider to be the sort of traditional good sources of protein. But pulses, seeds, nuts, soya, all fantastic sources of protein. So do consider these in part of your diet. And of course, your meals need to be appetizing. They need to look nice. They need to make you want to engage with them and spend your hard-earned money. And as a caterer, as a skilled chef, it's your job to make sure that everybody gets value for money. And it's not a second thought. It really is something that you would want to eat and enjoy yourself. I'd like now to talk specifically about care home catering. Now, I work for V4Life, which is a charity to support older vegetarians and vegans. And we do this in a range of different ways. We have over 1,500 care homes throughout the UK that have signed up for best practice. We've also got a memory care pledge that care homes sign up for. Now, this is a 5-point plan. Number one is that you're going to provide a wide range of vegan meals, a real good choice. Now, the choices that you're offering should be ones that are being considered with engagement of the people that you actually care for. So it's not just things that the chefs thought, oh, this will be popular. It's dishes that your residents have actually expressed an interest in, okay? Number two, that you're supporting your vegan residents with their beliefs. Now, this may be by giving them access to support groups or magazines or films, that sort of thing. Number three, that you're catering well for celebration days. So this could be birthdays or Christmas or Easter, any of these sorts of things. Now, obviously, it's not just about the food. Having a celebration day gives something to look forward to. It provides an opportunity for family to visit and engage and stimulate conversation. So it's not just about the food. However, this is a big part. So, for instance, at a vegan barbecue, and I've heard some great stories of best practice with this, but I've also heard some not so good stories. So on the negative side, jacket potato with salad. Okay, it's not really in keeping with a barbecue. On the other hand, griddles separate from the meat, a whole range of different foods cooked, that everybody wants to enjoy. Birthday cake, it's a lovely time to bring people together. Lots of stimulus there and family. It's important. Now, do you have a really good birthday cake, a really good vegan cake? It shouldn't be something that you're scrambling around about for at the last minute. It's something that you've got planned in so that your staff can cater well on those days. Now, point four. Now, this may not be for every resident, but it's something that you should consider. Some residents may want to eat at a separate table so that they can talk to other vegans and vegetarians rather than being on a table where other residents are eating meat. Now, this may not be something that everybody wants to have, but it's something that should be considered. Now, the last point, point five. Now, this is slightly more complicated, and it's something that we go into in greater detail during our training day. Now, this is about capacity. Are your residents, where capacity started to become an issue, that are vegan, starting to ask for meat or fish? Now, are they doing so because they really want to choose those things, or are they doing so because they've now got issues with capacity? So you need to think about that ahead of time so that you can support your vegan residents so they can still enjoy nutritious meals, but they can also keep with their ongoing deep-held philosophical and ethical beliefs. Now, it is obviously a difficult topic, and it's one that we do go into in greater detail on the training day. Now, what else can you do? You're the chefs, you're the caterers out there, you're the managers. What can you do to improve your catering? Now, what about having a meat-free Monday? So this is something that is very popular in all sorts of different places throughout the UK, where 1 day a week your menus are given over to over to being meat-free. So that's breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. So you need to think about this quite carefully so you can build it into your plan. Now, don't just think about the residents. Obviously, they are at the foremost of importance. But what about the staff? Are the staff engaging with this fully as well? Get everyone on board. So meat-free Monday, that may be an idea. What about a pop-up cafe? This is important. This could be something that you could try to do as well. Days when you're celebrating diversity, so you may have food from different parts of the world. That's another idea. But you're the caterers. You're the ones that are the specialists in that day-to-day cooking and providing food for your residents. What can you do to improve the quality of life and the food that you're providing for your vegan residents? So, in summary, what do you need to think about? Well, when you're developing a vegan menu, you need to make sure that it is in fact vegan. So we've got a nice definition of being a vegan, so do think about that. Also, the hidden ingredients in there, so you need to make sure that you're not getting tripped up with odd ingredients. You need to think about it from the customer's perspective. Okay, so would you want to come to your business and would you recommend the food that you've made? Okay, would you come back time and time again? Would you want to have your wedding there? Important days, not just you're hungry, you need something to eat, but would you absolutely recommend it? Would you put a recommendation on TripAdvisor, for instance, on how good your food is, or would you say it's not so good? So do you need to think about that? Your staff, depending on your business, of course, lots of people could be involved with this, but they all need to be on board with this. They need to know clearly what's on your menu that's vegan and what's not, so that it can advise customers, okay, when they arrive. You need to label clearly. You need to make sure that on your website it says that it's vegan, and just a little point to say we're happy to cater for vegans, and you could put some images up there so it's appetizing. It just sort of draws people in there. You need to think about balance of nutrition. Now, depending on the business, as I mentioned, it might be just that you're doing one item, but you may be catering for a longer period of time. So you need to think about that, make sure that everyone's getting exactly all the things that they need to get. So, the portions of fruit and veg, the carbohydrate, and also sources of protein as well. So that's important. Now, depending on your business, you may be specialising in catering for children or adults or older people. So you need to think about that. Are there any specific nutritional requirements for that group? But the other thing to do is to think beyond the person that's coming to you and ordering a vegan menu, a vegan meal from your menu. So their identity is important. That they may have been vegan for all their lives, and for very, very important reasons, global reasons, that they've chosen a vegan diet. And it's not just to annoy you as a caterer. It's not to get on this sort of fad, if you like, of a new food craze. It's something that is important to them. It's important to their family. It's important because of their religion. It's important because of the environment, and it's also important for animal welfare. So all these points need to be considered. Now, if you want extra support and help, then do have a look at our website. We've also run courses, so I'm happy and the team are happy to come and visit your business and give you some support and guidance. But I hope that I've given you a few pointers today. I hope that it's not too daunting to think about structuring your menu, but I would just say as a last point to think about is is that even though the numbers of vegans are growing up, is going up, you need to think beyond catering just for vegans. You need about the food that you're creating is going to be appetizing to everybody, and that way you're going to sell more and you're going to cut your costs, and you're going to have a more successful business. Okay, so hope that's been of use to you today, and I hope to see you again another time. Take care. Bye bye.